Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and it is Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. And as we are sometimes prone to do, we were talking in between recordings, and we said, okay, wait a minute, let's just hit record because this is a really good one. And we were talking about, and all of a sudden my mind is like so blank. And I know that was such a good conversation. BZ, I know you haven't forgotten it.
I haven't forgotten. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted, and this may be one of those times you may need to hit the pause button. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have to hit it now, but I may
hit the pause button.
What?
Oh, I already did. So
yeah. Okay, well,
I already did. So just spill.
Unpause it. Unpause, because I didn't hit the pause button.
Oh, unpause it. Okay, so I misread that. You said we might need to hit the pause button.
This is one of these times coming up that I may need to hit the pause button.
Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't come up yet, but it may be coming up. This may make noise. I may need to.
I got you.
But not for the reason I gave you the other day, for the real reason.
Right. Oh.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
The real work reason, not the false work.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
And people are going, huh?
And
okay, so back to where we were.
I know. I know, and I'm trying hard, but I've been sitting here trying to rack my brain, and I know it was a very good conversation, and I know I want to have it. So either one of you just jog my memory. This is the craziest thing ever.
We were talking. Keegan agrees. He's playing with his toys, saying, "Yeah, I don't remember either, but I'm going on to." I'm chewing the bear. We were talking about that the headline, aside from the major headline, right? That are you there now?
Of being, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Thank you for that. That not only is the biggest headline that we're kick-ass creator beings, but there's another headline that, well, some of us already got the memo about. But the idea of being a slave, a lot of folks haven't really comprehended all of the layers that has entailed.
Yeah, all encompassing. All
right.
On every layer. And,
right.
and
so when we
on every being on the planet, none left out, not a single one.
No, exactly. So, the hashtag Great Awakening is like miles deep, really, because there's so many layers to it. And in just that one thing, that one instance about the fact that, this has been a slave planet for even just because our anthem says home of the free doesn't mean, just because they tell you you're free doesn't mean you actually are. So as folks start really taking that in, and the layers that are attached to all of that.
Yeah, and I will just jump in here and say, from a linear perspective.
Yes, from a linear perspective. But there's freedom in that too, so I don't know how to jump from one to the other, or help I haven't figured out how to help folks jump from one to the other. I guess because that's what all of this being brought out into the arena for all to see in the manner in which it has, because there are folks that haven't been able to see it thus far. I think that's why when we talk about everything is not as it seems, and we've talked about that a bit in the last week and a half here. because and this is layered too for me in that, and it's layered up in the event, it's layered in all the arrests, it's all layered in there together for me, in that this is why those that are asking themselves, why did this thing with Heather and Randy have to go all the way it has, is because not all of us have been ready to see. So the correction had to come fully out.
Right.
Because there are some yet that haven't seen. For those of us who have seen and have moved past that, I think that might be partly why there's, some of those tubes of toothpaste going on the way they are still over there, because they haven't seen it all yet.
Well,
because
actually,
there's no room for it yet.
Yeah, it's that's actually very interesting. So, we don't necessarily have to flow all the way over this way, but although it's a big thing, we could. But I was thinking about that today. So everything is intimately related. It absolutely is. Mm-hmm. And not all is not as it seems. And we are seeing our multidimensionality now, and we're seeing very physical, tangible, demonstrable, in real time occurrences, demonstrations of the three world split. You can see it on you can see it on, for one example, I think it was where you were about to go with comments and stuff. Okay, so all of what you just put in. So on the one hand, to kind of to tie a little bit together, we got more to go. But anyways, to pull back and grab something. So on the one hand, it went all and it's still unfolding, right? But it's gone where it's gone and unfolded the way it's unfolded, because it needed to be. It's all of this. Every single, however many beings on the planet, it's all an inside job. So it must all be done an inside job. Okay, so that's a metaphor now for it's an inside job, i.e. from within the system through the system's things. And since, Heather was a lawyer, to make it sure that nobody ever needed a lawyer again. Okay, well, that's unfolding very seamlessly here. But she couldn't do this as the lawyer. She had to do it from the inside, vis-a-vis a case from the inside as the defendant. Okay, so that's another thing. It also has to be done from within the inside, where the documents are actually filed, and that information on a linear typed, black strokes on a white piece of paper and bits and bytes in the computer system, and energetically it has to be done from the inside, right? And as for all those others who haven't seen it at all, never mind just this particular purported case, but that there's anything ever wrong with any of these systems, haven't seen it. Now it's all in a public record from start to finish. So in other words, from their perceived start of what the system was to all the way through. So again, so now I even have just scratched on a few of the levels right there in this one, thing. So then you look at the slavery, which is pervasive in so many ways and so many layers, and there are some big things, and with far greater fathoms deep of stuff than even people who've been deep diving a lot comprehend, on the satanic, on the ritualistic, on the child trafficking, on the sex slaves, and all that kind of stuff. But that's just, and horrific and all that kind of stuff, absolutely. But that's just one part of it. And then there's other kinds as well. There's the forced labor, but there's, and I'm not wanting to diminish any of these different aspects, but the one that is pervasive for every single being on the planet is the financial slavery. In one way, shape, or form, doesn't matter what country, what you call the money that is supposedly the value there and all that kind of stuff. It's touched everyone, and everyone has lived their lives in certain ways, has reacted and done things which then affected other people's lives, friends, family, however it, is and played out because of that, which has been harmful and debilitating and deteriorating and all that kind of thing. So again, the levels and layers on that keeps going. So from my feeling into it, from the linear, the headlines, there's the overall big headline, which is Kick-Ass Creator Being, and then the linear headline or the subhead to that is the financial slavery of every single being on the planet, every single being, even the, one might not think, but even the, the elite fall into that category as well. So, and then you have, all the other things plus all the other things in different categories beyond that.
No, exactly. So I guess that's what I'm saying. For me, what I felt into whenever I feel the different layers of this, it sort of, well, it makes perfect sense to me that if we are truly all one, which there certainly is evidence, because energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It simply moves in and out of form. And that is what all things are, energy at its most base level. So you just take it from that right there. We're all one. And yet we are all at this moment of now, we have figured out, because we're that powerful, how to separate ourselves into these snowflake divisions of individuality that are afforded privacy through the matter of perception only, and the perception of our experiences only. And so when we feel into the layers of all of that, then all of the rest of the outages, for me, it's all so perfectly, I so get, the Heather speak now in regards to all is perfect and perfectly done. So much so. But all these different layers. So when the questions of why is it still like this, because it's not like that for me right now, I want to say that whatever it is that folks are lamenting in regards to, it's not like that for me right now. So I think that's for me personally, it's indicative of my consciousness level. I don't know that that's a true statement, but that's what I feel like, and that's what I'm going with.
Let me so that's a good point right there to tie back in, because I kind of separated a bunch of those, tie back in with the direct evidence people are seeing, not all, but a number of them, and growing all the time, of the evidence of real time of the 3-world split. So you said
Right.
It's not happening. That's not happening for you. Okay. And
right.
And so someone else could say, well, what's not happening for you is happening for me. So that's not happening for me. Right. And to take some examples of comments and stuff. So on the one level, some of the comments, particularly I'm thinking right this moment of some things on Tennessee. On one level, some of the comments are fostered by them not understanding in the first place, that about who they really are, about what really is going on, about the slavery system, about the corruption in the system, about all of what's unfolding, about a whole bunch of abouts. Okay, so that's some of the comments.
Right.
On a pure level. Then there are some, and those might be, if you were, again, to linearize this, those might be that are in the 3-world split. Those are that are still kind of undecided in the sense. Their energy is still fluctuating. And then there are some that are absolutely they simply haven't come into contact with it, and they haven't chose to open their minds not about Tennessee one way or the other, about all of anything one way or the other. Instead of, well, that's how it's always been, this, right? So it's just kind of a tunnel vision. So that would be the third world split in the center. There are a number where they have chosen on a soul level, and they may not, if they were having a conversation directly, they may not know to understand that on a linear level. And they just want to play out this lifetime and this, and their focus and their scope and their perspective is what it is, and they simply cannot see it. Right?
Right.
So one of the ways you can kind of is there's not that many of them making those comments in this example of Tennessee, because they simply would never find the material in the first place. They couldn't even get within a whiff of it, right? Occasionally there might be something, and so they do, because they're just not, and it's just not in their sphere of the energy. The ones in the second part would, because there is some, and I'm talking about just for each individual, nobody else, doesn't matter. Everybody else is irrelevant. There is that kind of negotiation or thought or, decision back and forth. And then, because you can watch, and some people think, well, they don't, it's because they don't understand the law. Yeah, okay, but that's kind of just a story anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You can kind of catch up with the story on that, right? And then there are some who can see it, and they can see all the things connecting. They can see the different choices. They can see how things are not as they appear, and wow, watching real time, this whole other picture forms, as if someone put some color back in a picture, or it was too underexposed and it was really dark in one part of the corner, and they've added light back, and they go, wow, they can see that document, that person, that whatever it is right in the corner as a metaphor. So that's and that's not just Tennessee, it's all of this that's unfolding right this minute. So all of that can be seen as well. So it's fascinating that it's all of those things simultaneously, and how we each individually consciously direct our predominant frequency vibration and are fierce about where we reside intentionally will then land us, to use the metaphor of the three world, on one of those worlds of the three world split, or in the different frequencies, or the availability of seeing in the consciousness expansive level. And I was thinking of a particular being in person, and you can be going through some of these really in-depth missions and experiences, and your soul has you there because that's what you agreed to do, and you got the training to do it, and the being in the shirt's going, I don't remember, what am I doing here? Oh my God, and then you go through gyrations where you go, yeah, I got this covered, and then it's, oh, I don't know, and then it's got this covered, and then you so there's more of all of you is coming in, and then you now have, in a public setting, demonstrable, where, yeah, I got this covered. So the T-shirt, let's say, and the bigness comes all together, and that's happening for lots of people. Just one in particular came to mind, but that's happening to a lot of people with some very intense, big stuff.
Yeah.
And it may not seem like it, but you'll see it with, it's so interesting. There are a number of people who would say, well, those, what's the term? I guess the liberal zealots, or this, that, and the other thing. Well, of course, that's just more of divisiveness and this and that, and more of a narrower perspective, and not realizing that, you know, there is no aisle, there is no party, there is no this or that. It's all from the linear perspective and the control. It's all one control, and those just are lower management, and the upper middle management is holding it, and the real controllers are not, you know, are off-worlders. But when we see the vitriol on various sides, or the passionate, which, you know, is kind of maybe a step down from the vitriol, because vitriol is passionate as well. It's just kind of over the top. But that's kind of a just choosing of the again, the three world split. It's a choosing of the frequency neighborhood. It's riding on that juggernaut of love, where, you know, in each in their own way is choosing consciously or choosing unconsciously, that everything that's not of love, that t-shirt, that scarf, that hat, those gloves, those socks, okay, the belt, they've all got to come off, because they're not of love to follow through.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it in the terms of the three world split in quite that manner, but I definitely, you know, in those terms specifically, but that is exactly what I feel like it is.
Yeah. And again, all those are metaphors from a linear perspective. But, you know, because I was thinking, again, with the comments in particular, I'm thinking, it's curious, what is it, and again, not about the commenter per se, or, you know, no judgment or anything, but I was curious just from maybe a linear thinking of a mindset or an energy where they are. What is it that they're holding on to that that is engaging them to make the comment, when, you know, if their comment is an expansive, absolutely valid comment, well, then there's really no point in making it, because it is what it is, and, you know, so go hang them and you're all set, right? So, and as I play with it, and these are, and then I looked at some other things. I looked at things I did a little bit of looking on Twitter and other places on, so those are tweets, not comments, but same kind of thing, on a topic, say the Russia, you know, thing, or other things that are going on. So, and again, you have the same kind of camps, lines, that would be one way to describe it. And there seems to be a lot of, from a linear perspective, wholesale missing, discounting, you know, like it's not even in their field of looking at certain particulars of some particular discussion, argument, focus, camp, whatever, right? But yet just on something, you know, just on what that we'll say focus company line is, kind of, you know, to give it a thing.
Right.
And I'm thinking, well, because I'm curious, you know, I'm thinking, well, what is it that prompts that? And what was coming from me and within me was that it's, well, it's a combination of the level of consciousness and perspective, right? And it which ties in big, and when they're both intimately related, is the three world split, because it's simply not the ability not to see.
Well, and I think we've talked a little bit about that before. That's indicative of the predominant frequency vibration neighborhood that person resides in. And I know, hey, man, I have I've had that experience myself in that there's been something, and I mean, it can be very simple, something that I just didn't see it before. It was there.
Yeah.
It was absolutely there. I know it was there, but I did not see it before. I've had the same kind of experience where I've seen a particular item or whatever, but I didn't comprehend what it was I was seeing or hearing or whatever the
It
case
didn't
may
click.
be in that moment. Yeah, it didn't click. And that, I mean, I think everybody can relate to that, and, you know, on one level or another. But it's that very, in some cases, you know, why aren't we there yet kind of situation. It is, for me, from what my perception is, it is that there's still a lot of folks that haven't seen a thing yet. And so it had to be made quite visible. Hashtag all becomes transparent now comes to mind, so that, you know, it can be integrated in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
By the way. So, I mean, because it's intimately related somewhere, frequently wise within that person's being that I haven't in many cases. So I'm speaking also about myself. You know, I don't reside there full time at this moment of now, and that's what that's about. And it's okay. I mean, it is. It's okay. I'm not. I give up beating myself up for stuff. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now, because it doesn't work for me anymore, and I don't think it works for anybody. And it serves nothing. So, you know, I'm not beating myself up for anything anymore.
Yeah, it only serves to solidify that which you're beating yourself up.
Yeah. More weight to it.
Not helpful.
Yeah. So, you know, and I, some of the very acts of just noticing things and being open to noticing things and being open to experiencing the multidimensionality layers of myself and being open to embracing the unknown, the fantastical too. It's just, I don't know, it releases a lot of other stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that, just those little things right there, it's like it you know, when you loosen a belt or something, it frees things up. You kind of, I don't know how to, it's a feeling for me.
Well, it's also pulling in, you know, stepping into maybe even coming within a country distance of, which would be a lot closer than most people have had before, of trust, of love for yourself, of that courage because you're standing in your innate and your knowing. You know, when you were speaking a moment ago, what came to flash in my mind is the whole, you know, walk away movement. And, you know, Brandon, he described himself, you know, as a liberal and all this kind of stuff, and the way he was brought up and so on and so forth. But towards the end, before, you know, he made the video, walked away and stuff, he was having trouble standing in where his own true north was guiding him. I'm not talking about so much about size and this and that, just listening to that, to, you know, soul talking about the heart, about shifting, about making choices. And yes, he may have described it as political and this and the other thing, but I'm talking about what's core in the energetic that's happening. And what's so beautiful about what's going on with that, again, I don't see anything I don't see the beauty that would be related to, you know, Democrats are losing some voters and whatever, because I don't understand that that's absolutely just a metaphor, and it's in the reality of even the false contract, it's an illusion. But what to me is beautiful is that, again, from a marketing place, it's just like me. He's just like me in whatever way, even if two people are totally unrelated. One's straight, one's not, you know, it doesn't matter. Because here was someone who could stand in his own knowing and have trust in himself and not worry about the quote unquote friends or this or that or the other thing. And then they could come forward too, because most people, as a general rule, you know, won't go on a video. Well, they're up to, like, I don't know the total number, but it's hundreds of thousands now that we've got them. And so again, that's another metaphor, right? For it's an inside job. It's coming to realize for yourself, no matter what those pressures are, of standing in your own knowing, in your own true north, in honoring yourself. And the metaphor there is, you know, politics or this or that or the other thing. Well, since all of that are just kind of placeholders for the whole integration, the whole unraveling, the whole, you know, dissolution of the old guard and the old systems and the old illusory false construct, everybody chooses their own, you know, path. But it's really, you know, it's
right.
really quite beautiful that we see it all flowing down in.
Yeah, as you were describing that in the manner in which you were, what I saw and heard in regards to that entire metaphor is oh, crap. It was right there on the edge and now it's just gone. This is happening more to me. Oh, wow.
I'll just say something quick that may help bring it in. Another one of those things that people don't see, that's a, you know, a sub headline, you know, when things unfold, that they're thinking, oh, you know, because it's part of the whole rollout play. Trump mentions the 13 angry Democrats. Well, there's a whole lot of Republicans too. So I mean, there really aren't either or, but the name monikers of there's, right? So it doesn't, it's not party dependent. And it's not gender dependent.
No, it's not. Yeah, I feel like that was just a starting point. No, what I remembered, thank you very much for that, by the way, because it did jog my memory. I also see that that movement, the hashtag walk away movement, is also a really great metaphor if folks will see it for what it is in regards to programming.
Yes.
Because in effect, his listening to his own true north and saying, wait a minute, his something inside him went off, and the shielding for what would have been the programming to keep him in as a, you know, quote unquote liberal, I suppose, is what he was, correct? That's what this whole walk away thing is about, right? That's what I thought. There is a specific kind of programming that went along with that over the years. And so for me, it was not just the inside job part thing that you were talking about, that there's another layer of that is that beauty of taking that in one degree, perhaps, step out in front of you know, the rest of the folks and say, see, I can let go of this programming. You can too, kind of thing. And so I didn't know it was up in the hundreds of thousands. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Well, he's been
It is a beautiful
invited on all sorts of, you know, huge, as far as audience count shows between different places on Fox and radio shows, and they're not, and the interesting thing is they're not, you know, I haven't paid full attention, but just glancing at it, they're not all just, you know, Republican or left or conservative. They're, you know, a whole range, because again, there's something, see, it's, yes, he's moved to do, you know, he and then all of them are moved to do this, but it's the energetic of that clicking into your core being and knowing, which is so click into a bull, if that makes sense. It's so, you know, you resonate with it. It's
Right.
It may be his, you know, the way he comes across. Oh, that's a great, fine. But it's also at the core of it is that core energetic of, wow, you know, it's like it's almost like an antidote to the programming and the shielding on the programming, you know, that energetic of it.
Right.
And that's
Right.
happening in all sorts of again, any focus. You pick any, it doesn't matter, any focus, it's all the same. It's happening, you know, on personal levels, it's happening in work levels, it's happening, you know, in relationships of all different stripes. So I mean, this is really what's you know, going on, of this breaking down of all of this. And I guess this is kind of how we started this conversation that we jumped into recording. Lisa had said, I forgot, I was talking about something, and Lisa had said, that's like a life review, where you're going through all of these things. And I said, yes, that's actually what the whole Stargate Ascension and all that is about. You're just not having to kick off to go, you know, to have the life review, to actually then get sucked in by the by the false karma construct and put right back here to do it again, so you can, you know, be satisfied again. But anyways, that's several other videos. And I said, well, yeah, because that's part of the ascension. So all of us is coming in, we're having a life review right here, and this one kick-ass life review that's going on for everybody. And since we're multidimensional and you're realizing, noticing, and partaking in your multidimensionality in your linear container, which is changing to a multidimensional container. So if your head isn't hurting right now, drink some water, take a deep breath. And all that is occurring, what that ultimately means as each of us moves through it is that then you're here now. All of you is here now. And as we described in our previous video, when you're experiencing lots of fun, cool, sublimely delicious things in your multidimensionality, and the work and the missions and all that kind of stuff, you know, on and on and on, you actually, in this process, and you go through it, you are giving up the whole false construct of the whole need for, on a physical and energetic level, to die. Because in effect, you're dying now in that life review. You're just doing it a lot. and then all of that, because all of that programming, just like the ego is part of that, you know, constructed program, all of that programming actually is part of the tinkering on a physical level as well, which was again another program, although a electromagnetic and a chemical and an organic physiological program, if I'm saying that right, to break down the unlimitedness of your body and its ability. So in essence, the slavery system, the lies, the not trusting yourself, not being connected, not having your heart open, are all absolutely keystroke mechanisms for the dis-ease within you that limited your span on this planet to a very short term, and really important key measures in the programming and the controllability, because if your time is short and it's chopped up and then you get recycled and you're coming back in, and the veil is that you don't remember, so you got worker bees, now we got them, okay, because of all the things that are also going on, they're breaking down a bit, get rid of them, bring them back in, so you have your whole, is replenishing your stock. And
right.
all that, and there isn't a lot of, well, the theory was there isn't a lot of carryover, as we all came back in. Obviously, they got that wrong because we can see it, now. But yeah, so that's part of all, the other underlying factor to all this.
Yeah, not to mention all the cellular memory that comes through the DNA as well. So that's a very real thing. And somewhere over the last 2 or 3 days, I read that they've now discovered that the eggs of all females form all the eggs that how did it go? It was that the eggs that you carry are the eggs that came from your grandmother or something like that. They form.
Yeah, the eggs are formed at 4 weeks.
Yeah, something like
really early, and it is something to do with the grandmother.
Yeah, so like your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, and your mother's eggs were formed as a fetus within the grandmother's womb. And so just those steps, as that goes down, for me, that just one more proofing of, a cellular DNA memory for me. And I've just butchered the hell out of all of that, but I will find.
I know, the article said it beautifully.
You're saying linear too, but the limited cellular DNA.
Yes, the limited cellular DNA that from our yes, the tinkered from our own physicality. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But there is cellular DNA memory that carries down through, and yes, it does carry that tinkering. However, there's something that I carry with me that I feel, I could be completely wrong about this, and I'll go on record as saying so. But I also know that there have been things that have been tinkered with in science, specifically on purpose. And I'll give you one specific. It was a specific kind of fly that they made blind. And within 2 or 3 generations, their blindness was corrected. And so my point in all of that is that, remember those 4 letters that we continually say that we are, kick-ass creator beings? Whatever tinkering may have been done in whatever time period, I'm pretty darn sure it's worked itself out.
Well, that's why the tinkering originally was genetic and all that. But that's why, I remember we had a conversation not that long ago about marketing, where you have to keep changing the marketing program because the consciousness keeps expanding and awakening and putting those things back, back together. And one of the, again, to go back to, so I guess maybe this is a tying a lot of pieces together show, but no one is saving us. We've done this ourselves. We've remembered this and come forth from this. So we've brought it forth, and then we've also transmitted it out and put it in the collective as well. So it's a combination of all of those things. And what's the key component to all of that? You. You know, wherever you're pointing, you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's yes, it's all of those things and more.
Yeah. Well, that's just.
I mean, if that weren't
on the top
if that weren't exciting enough.
Right.
Yeah, if that weren't exciting enough, it's all of those things and more.
Right.
But wait, there's more.
Well,
That's why
there's a whole shebang more, but.
Yeah, when one can run alongside the car in a mountain field and have a tea party as one's child self, all while riding in said car, and know that there's more. Oh man, I'm so excited. I mean, really, honestly, that's just, it's really cool. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And so I've decided what the title is.
So we've just touched on a few threads. You know, we've just touched on a few threads of the unlimited multidimensional threads, you know, that are just a teensy weensy weensy smidgen of a microscopic thing. So what's the title?
Well, I was going to say the tying a lot of pieces together show, but now you've just given me another visual that I prefer.
Okay.
Weaving tapestry of multidimensionality.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too.
So,
and this would be part Smidge A to that, because
yeah, Smidge A.
because that just conjured up, oh well, you know, me said, well,
so that's all there is to
it
there.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. Smidge A. Don't even call it a part. It's just a smidge.
Smidge A, right?
Smidge A. Join us next week for Smidge B. I don't know if we'll ever get to part 1.
Right?
Because it's that huge.
Well, yeah, because expansion will take us a while to get through all the smidges.
Yeah.
The part 1.
Yeah.
But I like
exactly.
that. I'm putting Smidge A in my.
I'm putting Smidge A in mine. Yeah, Smidge A. That's it. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I so adore you, ladies. This has been so much fun again.
Same.
Either one of you will have anything that you'd like to add to this one?
No.
No.
Okay, glimpses of Smidge B.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there would be glimpses of Smidge B, wouldn't it? Join us next week for a glimpse into Smidge B. We might even bring a peek at Smidge C.
Right.
I guarantee nothing.
And a snapshot.
And then again, you might get a.
And a snapshot of 0.5.
Oh, there we go.
0.5.
Yes.
Real forward.
But we will do breaking news for if there's an onslaught and a full-on part 1.
Wonderful.
Alrighty then. I guess we'll put this one to bed. We'll have all the usual things in all the usual places, how to get in touch with everybody, should you so desire. And till next time.
Much love.